started.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you see me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is my lighting okay? Because I can't see you, so I can't see myself to see if the lighting is all right.
Yes, your
Yes,
lighting
your
is fine.
is fine.
Okay, good.
Do you see
You
yourself
see
now?
yourself now?
Yay! How are you, Sister Lawita?
Yes, ma'am.
Before we came to America, we were living in the east by the Nile River, living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes and slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the wisest people, I'm told. Now we are the poorest of the poor. Nobody wants us at their door. So my friend, it's easy to tell, white man heaven is a black man hell.
It's easy to tell. White man heaven is a black man hell.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Master Farad Muhammad said 6 words to us, and these were the 6 most powerful words that he spoke. He said, accept your own and be yourself. Accept your own. The Caucasians who brought our fathers into slavery desired to take us away from our own people, our own culture, our own religion, our own God, our own language. So we have grown up in America away from our own mind, away from our own selves, and so we have been actually indoctrinated with an alien mentality.
10,000 fearless men. Because we're going to have to challenge the things that are destroying our community. So this ain't no punk time. This ain't no temple time, mosque time, or church time. All the singing and shouting and preaching is over. Get in them streets now. Block by block. We're going to have to clean it up. The airwaves is not enough. The television screen is not enough. You got to put boots on the ground who are trained and are willing to make the sacrifice of life itself to see our community made a decent place to live.
Attention. Drill.
Soldiering is a part of the Nation of Islam, and it readies all of us to obey the commands of God. Now some will ask, well, why military drill? Because this is what produces the camaraderie.
Facebook and Instagram thought that they could ban the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
But in reality, they can't, because he already lives in us and millions of others.
قل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
In the name of Allah, Master Fard Muhammad, the one true and living God to whom praise is due forever, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, Master Fard Muhammad, and that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his messenger. Peace, family, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of WHID-FM. WHID-FM is your personal platform where those of us striving to follow the life-giving, life-saving teachings of the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as given to us by his premier pupil, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, gather right here in this virtual meeting place to answer that most critical question: what has Islam done for me? It's Sunday, May 18th, 2025, and at this time, we're going to turn it over to our special guest co-host for the night, this sister hailing all the way from Muhammad Mosque number 2 in Chicago, Illinois, as a magnificent example of an MGT and an expert on the teachings of how to eat and live. And most importantly, she is our sister, Sister Mawida Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. I bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the supreme student in God's classroom, the chief witness to the eternal leader of the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I greet the audience in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. I want to thank you so much for joining us again for another wonderful episode of WHID-FM. What has Islam done for me? Our guest tonight, our brother Jessiah, I pray that I'm saying his name correctly, and Sister Khalila. I wanted to read their bios first before we get into getting to know them and asking our very important questions. Our guests tonight are Brother Jessiah and Sister Khalila. Brother Jessiah Muhammad, a Newark native, is a dedicated community leader and activist with a profound commitment to social justice, youth empowerment, and community development. With a strong academic foundation, Jessiah earned his master's degree in global affairs from Rutgers University, Newark, following the undergraduate studies that included a study abroad at Oxford Brookes University in the UK. Currently serving as the assistant student minister of Muhammad Mosque, number 25, Jessiah provides spiritual leadership to his community, promoting growth through faith, discipline, and service. He has also served as a youth coordinator for Savior's Day 2021, leading youth engagement for this impactful annual event. As the director of the Brick City Peace Collective, BCPC, Jessiah has spearheaded transformative initiatives that reduce violence and foster opportunity in Newark. Notably, he coordinated the Guaranteed Education Program, which provided full ride scholarships for 40 students to attend St. Elizabeth University. Empowering victims of violence to pursue higher education and brighter futures under the leadership BCPC has built partnerships with over 50 organizations driving comprehensive violence reduction strategies and strengthening community relations through data-driven policies and programs, leading Newark to its historic 60-year low in homicides in 2022 and 2024, and with even lower rates. Jessiah is also a co-founder of the Next Generation Project, a nonprofit mentoring initiative focused on social emotional learning, SEL, which has impacted youth in multiple cities. His efforts extend to organizing impactful events such as the Mayor's Men's Breakfast, monthly men's meetings, and educational campaigns addressing mental health and violence prevention campaigns. In recognition of his groundbreaking work, Jessiah has been honored by Cities United, a national organization focused on advancing public safety and opportunities for Black and Brown men. His ability to blend community activism, politics, and a deep passion for equity and social justice has earned him national acclaim and positioned him as a transformative leader. Josiah's advocacy reflects his unwavering dedication to sustainable change. His leadership combines strategic vision, grassroots engagement, and faith, ensuring that Newark's future is built on a foundation of opportunity, equity, and peace. I pray that everyone can hear me okay in the audience, that it's clear and the sound is coming through properly. Khalila Muhammad is a dynamic 22-year-old student pursuing a degree in cyber defense, combining her passion for technology with a commitment to safeguarding digital spaces. With professional experience at Boeing, Khalila excelled as an advanced manufacturing sale operator and served as a quality focal. In these roles, she demonstrated exceptional attention to detail, operational excellence, and the ability to foster team cohesion, earning recognition for her contributions to high-stakes projects. Raised in Jackson, Mississippi, Khalila comes from a close-knit family of 14 and is a proud third-generation Muslim. Her parents embraced Islam early in life, instilling in her a strong sense of faith, community, and resilience. This upbringing shaped Khalila's empathetic and creative outlook, which she applies to all areas of her life. Beyond her academic and professional endeavors, Khalila enjoys exploring her creative side through cooking and painting. She also nurtures a growing interest in ministry, driven by a desire to inspire and uplift others. Khalila's unique blend of technical expertise, artistic talent, and compassionate spirit positions her to make a meaningful impact in both her personal and professional journeys. Is the sound coming through okay? Should I continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. We would like to welcome our guests this evening. I would like for the audience to get to know you both a little bit better. What attracted you? This question is to the both of you. First with Brother Jessiah. What attracted you to the teachings? How did you know this was something or a discipline that you were ready to commit yourself to at such a very young age?
Praise be to Allah. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, alaikum salam, sir.
Well, my parents was born in it. I was raised in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So it was installed in me early since birth in the rearing. And being in a city like Newark, you get confronted with a lot of things. And Newark has a very unique dynamic of Islam in the city. Newark is a Muslim city. So you get the experience of dealing with different cultures of Islam in the city of Newark. So it's always interesting, growing up in middle school, I had the unique experiences to grow with other cultural sects of Islam. And it just, those conversations sometimes always bring out the understanding of how clear it was with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that it just made the journey and the process of submitting to this easy and the acceptance of it. So I think for me, it was just like, it was always going to be a yes. It's just, the question was just when for me. But I think, all praises due to Allah.
All praises are due to Allah. Thank you for that. I didn't know that you grew up in the nation. I thought that your beautiful wife was third generation. So are you the first or second generation?
Yeah, I would be considered second generation.
Okay, yes, sir. All
Yes,
praises
ma'am.
due to Allah. Sister Khalila, with your beautiful self, would you be so kind to let us know what attracted you to the nation?
Assalamu alaikum, first off.
Wa alaikum salam.
So like I said, I grew up third generation. Just like a quick background, I always grew up in, like, I'm third generation. I was homeschooled. So I didn't have a lot of interactions with the public for a really, really long time. Maybe until I was like, 11 years old. Me and my family, we stayed in Mississippi. It was a small little city to the side. But I would say, to answer that question, I think it was the transformative effect that I saw early on. Like, even as a little girl, I could see how Islam changed, how Islam renewed. My father, for one, he didn't grow up in the Nation of Islam. So I'm third generation on my mom's side. My mom actually introduced Islam to my father, who was a devout Christian. He grew up in a family who was very devout Christian, so much to the point where they were actually surprised that Islam, they knew nothing of Islam. They knew nothing of Islam. So just seeing how his life changed, and he would always tell us stories about how he would eat pork and do recreational activities, and it was, to me, it was very like, okay, well, this is just my family. But when I finally went out into the world, starting my educational journey out into the world, I realized just how different I was from everyone else. I was like, I'm not normal compared to the generation that I'm surrounded with now. And people would recognize the light emanating from me. And to me, I'm very normal. I'm very normal to myself. But to others, it was like I was very different. I was very different. And introducing Islam to people, I realized how it changed for those who accepted it. And so that simply for me was just like it refortified my own belief and my own idea that Islam, it was truly meant to save. And so I think that's the biggest factor of what attracted me.
All praises due to Allah. Excellent answers. I know I can't ask all of the questions that I have for you all because your bios were very inspiring, even for a seasoned sister like myself. Okay. So I do have a question. I have a question. Based on the fields of work that you all have selected, with the youth, I want to ask you all, this is sort of personal. How important is transparency for the both of you all? Because when you are attracting a youth and you all are young and married and a good example of doing what we believe in the nation, marriage and family, it's kind of two-part. I'm fourth generation Muslim growing up in the nation, but there were circumstances that brought me back. Did you stay the course in the beginning? Did you have to fall down and get back up? So it kind of ties into my question, how important transparency is when we're in front of our young people, because we look like we have it all together.
Yes, ma'am. We look like we look like we have it all, and we give a facade as if there's never been nothing we've gone through. And when it comes to I didn't join till I think it was my 3rd year in college. I always knew I was ready, but I didn't make that leap until I think it was my 3rd year of college. And the transparency part that I'm hearing about, how we sometimes don't make being a Muslim seem real. And, you know, the Quran teaches us about duty, and it talks about difficulty and trial. So me as a Muslim, I'm going through the trials of what life just puts on me by Allah God. And as a young person, I think a lot that my parents has always been, they talked about issues, they talked about problems. And I think that was so good for me to hear, because it made it so real. And, you know, we talk about the God, the Mahdi, black man is God. And how can we talk about all these things when we don't talk about the reality of, you know, doing or being around the wrong influences, like, you know, parents not sometimes being open with some of the things that, as a young person this day and time, smoking is very popular. You know, recreational weed is very popular. And the introduction of that is not high school, it's middle school. Like for us, this thing is popular in the school system, particularly in middle school. So we sometimes look at our children and these young people as if these things won't come to them till like later in life. And it becomes difficult, because I always say, when you look at Satan and look at his works in New Jersey, there was conversations to change the curriculum about introducing transgender in preschool. And when you just think of how he's moving, you mean to tell me he's going to introduce something to us in the babies, and we don't want to talk about how we need to arm ourselves? Like, hey, son, you're going to go to public school, and just when you go to public school, be prepared to see some of these things. And we don't put, as the Bible talk about, the armor of God on our children to let them know that these are some things that they just might see or deal with. Like my twin, when she was in our junior year, she had a girl that liked her. And like, you know, I had to tell her, like, yo, Jai, just be mindful, like, you know, stuff like this. She's like, okay, yeah, but that was a unique experience for her to have a girl. Like, it was just, so I think the transparency part of that you highlight is, we don't have dinner talk. We don't have living room talk with our children. And we can't talk about the guide and not talk about the trial that God puts us on. And so that's just my thoughts. Sister, my wife will talk.
That's right. Summed it up pretty good. But I will say, transparency is definitely key. You know, I feel like when we come and we speak from a point as if we have it all together, you know, they see us in the uniforms and the suit and tie, and you know, they assume, oh, third generation, second generation, it was easy for you. But that's, you know, the furthest from the truth that it could be. But, you know, I'll say the moment you start talking about the trials that you went through, the moment you bring light to the fact that there are going to be problems, there are going to be trials, you start to make a thing more real, and you can start to introduce the tools that's needed to overcome those trials once they, you know, come up. Like me personally, I didn't get registered at 16 as many do. You know, oh, well, you're third generation. I thought, no, it was hard for me as well. And I intentionally sought out the world, you know, before coming into the Nation of Islam, because my mindset was, I grew up in the nation, but I don't want my rearing in this thing to influence my decision to join it, you know, because I don't have a reference point of what it's like in the world. For all I know, the world could be better. And so I thank my parents for allowing me to step away. They didn't give me any pushback, but they did sit me down and say, Khalila, we understand what you're doing, but this is what you're going to see. You know, they gave me the reality of it. These are the trials that you're going to face, and you have to be prepared to take them on if this is what you're wanting to do. And, you know, just like they said it, those are the things that I experienced. And so that is what drove me back to Islam. And while being back in Islam, the experiences that I went through when I was out in the world is what kind of kept me more grounded in Islam. So it is definitely so important to be transparent. When I tell, you know, youth that I'm talking to, they always say like, wow, I didn't know you experienced any of that. You put up such a good facade. No, it's not a facade. It's just that the transformative power of Islam is real.
Absolutely. All praise is due to Allah. The atoms are going off in my head like, damn, I got so many other questions, but I know I just can't take over the show, right? But I wanted to talk to you about something that you said earlier, sis. And the proper pronunciation is Khalila. Am I saying
Khalila,
right?
yes, ma'am.
Khalila. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, you know, when everybody knew that you were different, right? In this world, what's wrong is right, and what's right is wrong. So with you all being young and married and being before the young people and promoting righteousness and family, I'm looking at that because in the world we live in, it promotes fornication. It promotes birth control. And so in this world, people will look at you like, why would you want to get married so young? Aren't you too young? Shouldn't it be done this way? But nobody is saying it's too young to give these young men condoms, or if it's too young to go out here in the street half dressed. So why does the enemy put a negative thought and connotation on righteousness? Because I'm very proud of you all to be young and to be married and starting the journey, even in the trials and tribulations, to want to be right, because marriage is the cornerstone of community. So how would you, what would your feedback be on that, Brother Jessiah?
I thought you was going to answer.
I can answer it if you want me to.
Yes, you can answer.
So,
go to give us the feminine
as soon as you started talking about, this subject, I thought about when I was courting my husband and I was at work. And like I said, I'm very transparent. I'm very open. And the thing is, when you have confidence in what you're saying and the way of life that you've chosen to live, that confidence acts as attracting power. Because people want to know, like, why are you like, wow, the world is saying this and you're saying this, but you have so much confidence behind it. And so at work, I would be, very open. Oh, yeah, there's this. Oh, I'm courting because, the environment and the culture is boyfriend, girlfriend, men cheating on their wives and all this craziness. And so when they heard me talking about courtship and not being promiscuous during the process and having chaperones, they would always ask questions. And a lot of their questions came from the idea that, like you said, this world promotes the complete opposite of what we believe in. And so I think it's so important for us to just give kind of like a rundown of why we believe what we believe. Like, yeah, I'm young, and this world may promote, promiscuity, don't get married until you're older because you're not just a lot of craziness. But when you know the history and even the purpose of such a divinely structured union, then like you can run it down. Like, no, this was a structure created by God himself, and it puts a duty on us. No matter the age, it puts a duty on us. And so I never shied away from those type of conversations. And they would always tell me like, wow, we've never, and I was surprised actually, but they was like, we've never met anyone who like, we've never even heard of courting. And after a while, that premises alone was enough for me to be able to invite them out to my mosque. And I'm just getting long-winded, but I think the biggest thing is just, you just got to give people an understanding behind a thing. It may be your life, your decisions, but when it becomes to a point where people are interested in the way you live your life, it's like you just got to put reason behind it, and the reason has to be in line with what you're taught. So I'll say that.
I think that you're. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. No, I was. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to add. The interesting part that my wife said was the dating aspect, and in this time, and like dating is like even something we have to war against is this dating versus courtship mentality. And because dating is so prevalent, and it's like, oh, well, you could date this person for 2 weeks and then get in a relationship for 4 weeks and 3 months, a year. And it's the concept, as she talked about, the union is so sacred and so important. And I think we have to just talk about dating because it's the introduction of how frivolous relationships can be in this day and hour, that to be young and married is a beautiful thing. And, we was very excited to do this process, but to see some of us fall victim because of urges and us wanting these relationships and these boyfriends and girlfriends. And it's and what, honestly, even when I think about when I first went to a charter school, I was used to a private school, and I was in 7th grade and I was in class and someone asked me, yo, man, who's your girl? Are you a virgin? And I was like, whoa, like, I'm like, yo, I'm 12. Like,
right.
What do you like? I was so shocked. I'm like, he asking me do I still got my virginity? Do I got any girl? I'm like, yo, I'm 12. I was like, brother, I'm 12. Like, what are we talking about here? And just to hear like the conversation and like, oh man, what? Yo, I lost it. I was like, whoa, brother. I said, all right, oh Allah. I said, man, and the reason why it goes back to your earlier point about the transparency, because it's like, I have friends in the Middle East, and I'm not saying that all are like that, but the ones that I've met, they've always talked about how, man, I can't wait, man, they talk about their arranged marriages and what they getting set up, and it's no different than us that I have no problem with my parents looking into the courtship saying, man, I thought this would be a good mate for you. I had no problem with them saying that, because that's what the community is supposed to do. We're supposed to be in our community protecting, making sure, like, hey, we do gatekeep. Hey, no, we don't you can't be anybody come and get our sister. You can't be anybody come and get the brother. So it's like, I just think it goes back into that transparency, because the way we upkeep FOI and MGT, trust and believe, others want us and everything. And we have to make sure that we are protecting ourselves in this process to make sure that we stay in-house and not outside the house.
That's right.
In context, let me also say that.
That's right. That's really good. You just kind of segue right into my other question. What I was going to say earlier too was, you have made righteousness attractive and exciting, where it's not, people think that being right is just being bored. If you invite someone over to your house, we're going to have a get together. Are you going to have anything to drink? No, we're not going to have anything to drink, because this world is taking death for life, right? But your wife's conviction, and yours too, with wanting to be a Muslim and wanting to be right, made it attractive. She represented Islam with conviction and was not ashamed. We should be proud to be a Muslim. We should be proud to be pleasing to Allah. Because one of my questions I had here was, how do you encourage young people, to not yield to the modern day temptations? And something that both of you all said, when you were 12 and when she was around her friends, and they're like, you're different. Coming up in the nation as a 4th generation Muslim, people will have these conversations about relations at such a young age. I felt so left out. I felt out of place. I didn't feel like I belonged. So here you are, 12, being asked this question, and here your wife is saying that she's different. So how would you encourage our young people not to yield to the modern day temptation? Because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that we, us seasoned brothers and sisters, did not grow up in a world like this. So I wouldn't be able to speak to that the way that you all would be able to, being young or younger.
Ooh, it's a heavy question.
Yes,
because I think to that first part, even with the older generation, we don't acknowledge the forces that young people are on, because you're talking about not just peers at a very young age, and at the same time, the technology access that we have to cell phones and what we see, and even on TV, these are strong urges and these are strong forces. And it is so important that I would say internally that we have a relationship and development of just the course of what we have in this Islam. You can't go through none of these things without no degree of understanding of Islam. I could not have been 12 years old and not know who the Mahdi was. I cannot be, our children can't be young and not know Islam at all. And sometimes it is like that for our children because they go to the mosque and that's the only experience of Islam they get. You don't take Islam at home. I seen my mother up early, we didn't have washer dryer, washing the clothes, doing all the preparatory things that made me say, man, and my love of seeing how my mom take care of the home, how my father took care of responsibilities, made me so appreciative of us when we had nothing, but knowing that Allah, God, like we was poor, but we were so happy. And you have to be young and aware, like it goes back to the first question about transparency. And yes, I think that's what it is. You got to be young, but you got to be aware. And I think that's what it is.
Yes, sir. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much for being so open. What about you, sis? Did you have anything you would like to comment on in regards to that question I asked your husband?
Very brief, because I summed it up pretty well. But I just, the forces of this world, it's such a strong pull, and so I just love this transparency word that we can kind of apply to every scenario, because like I said, the force is real, the pull is real, but just sitting them down and letting them know that just because you fall victim doesn't mean you have to stay a victim. Just because you fall doesn't mean you have to stay down. And then going back to your own personal experiences, like I was down at some point, and now you're seeing an example of what I am now, but I didn't always be like this. So on the other side of what you're struggling with now, all of the temptations and, inclinations that you have now, on the other side of that is someone who's stronger. You commit yourself to getting back up, So that's just, my input.
Oh, praise is due to Allah. I wanted to ask you another question as well. With reading your bios and the level of success that you had, it really showed me that both of you all are some smarty pants. You all are really smart.
That's her.
So, that took discipline, right? To be able to accomplish your goals. And the most honorable Elijah Muhammad came to make a nation of gods, right? So if you were going to school to become a nutritionist and you come into the nation and you start learning how to eat to live, you will be able to apply supreme wisdom to your endeavors, right? So the things that you all both are doing, how did you take the supreme knowledge and wisdom and apply it that you can start that journey of becoming a god? Pretty good, huh?
The work we do in the city of Newark, specifically with myself with Brick City Peace Collectors, in the public safety work, Mayor Rajay Baraka, he took 5% of the police budget and he formed the Office of Violence Prevention. So during that time when George Floyd passed, you heard a lot of conversation around defunding the police. So to shift and make an Office of Violence Prevention where you have social workers to every precinct. And before that, there was a Brick City Peace Collective where he organized all of the organizations that do community and grassroots in regards to prevention, violence reduction. It's a lot to work with people. Yes. And I think a lot that first the spirit was there to, I started off as a data analysis and then I grew into the role of director. And I would say the unwavering spirit that you have to have in working with our people, because like last year, I responded to a suicide incident where I had to go and support one of our partners who lost someone on their premises, and the wisdom and knowledge that you have to have when working with people. I think, to me, I'm really into closing the gap, and it's been a lot of information hearing the minister's personal life that has allowed me to really be more understanding with the person. Because when you're dealing with people that have gone through traumatic events in their life, you have to recognize that the event is what you see and not the person. And as the minister said in his 90th birthday anniversary, if you can't see what Allah seen that made him travel 9,000 miles, then you can never raise the dead. And I reflect on that so much, because it's just, when you're working with people and they've experienced traumatic things in their life, it is an experience that now we're dealing with the effect of. And at the same time, too, when you're working with people, sister, woo, oh my God. So I'm 27. I got promoted as director, a lead city lead. Man, I got some elbows thrown at me. And you have to have the unwavering love that we've seen through the minister. And it makes me think about him so much. And I'm like, man, I'm going through this. And I only just imagine so much more what he goes through. And you have to have an unwavering in-depthness of love that I'm constantly seeking refuge in, to allow God to see me through in these things. So I just think about the spirit, and I think about that wisdom. And I've always found myself in closing the gap. I found myself just being more studious in these things. But yes, ma'am.
Oh, praise is due to Allah. What about you, Sister Khalila?
I think for me, it's a very loaded question. I think, in the proper handling of people, we're given a complete guideline of how to interact with our people, kind of going back into what Jessiah was saying. And in the spaces that I've been in so far, I think the reason why I've been able to have so much success, not just in my personal life, but in my work life and just professional career also, is because I adhere to those particular principles. They are all higher ups, any managers, CEOs at companies that I've worked at. They've always been very surprised by my demeanor, the way that I engage with customers, the way that I engage with their shareholders. And so, because to them, a 22-year-old Black woman who, she's very young, she's very studious, but she has so much love and respect for anyone that she talks to. She's not belligerent, just things like that. And it kind of gives them a different light and perspective. So I can say that Islam has moved me in places that I don't think I would have been in if not for those principles that I took directly from, our guidelines. But I don't know how to answer that question really.
Oh, no, you did very well. Thank you. One of the things I wanted to mention as well, sis, is, well, this might be for Brother Jessiah. When you went to study abroad, how did that impact you as a Muslim? And were there any challenges? Because a lot of us aren't seen studying abroad. So what challenges, if any, did you experience when you were in the UK?
I think the experience of studying abroad really, it widened my Islam. It made me understand Islam on a higher level. During that opportunity to study in the UK, I took that opportunity because it's cheaper to fly to Egypt out there. I went to Egypt, I went to Turkey, I went to Morocco, and it was only a few hundred, literally $200, $150, and I was going off scholarship. So I took that opportunity to do other travel, and I'm saying that it made me see Islam on a bigger effect. That when I went to London and I found out that we had a mosque in London, I bear witness to the greatness of the word that, you know, sometimes when we can be in our cities, we can only think about Islam relevant to the city and space that we're in. So you being in Chicago, you could just think about Islam from a Chicago standpoint and not see that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that this message was not limited to here in North America, but all over the planet Earth. It's so, I was just in London Mosque hearing student minister Brother Hakeem teach, and I'm just looking left and right with the hearing their accent, and I'm like, whoa, this is beautiful. I went to France, and there was a study group in France, and I missed out the opportunity to go because I didn't know until I left France that it was a study group, and I was like, whoa, this stuff is big. I will say this though, don't laugh at me, sister. I wasn't used to being around a lot of white people.
Right. That's where I was going with it.
I wasn't used to being around a lot of white people. I walked outside one time. I was walking back to my campus. I saw a white man in jogging, hit a corner. I was like, yo, right, you can't be popping out on me like that.
Don't run up on us like that. Oh, praise is due to Allah. Oh, Allah. That, you know, because it makes me, the reason why I was asking that question, because sometimes, you know, we shrink in certain environments, but the most honorable Elijah Muhammad came with the life-giving teaching, so we don't have to shrink when we're in an environment when there are more of them than you, right? So it just made me want to ask that question, and something that your wife said that provoked a little thought too, when she was talking about the compliments that she gets. You know, they have their books, their policies and procedures in corporate America, how you should behave. Well, really, they have to teach that, right? But we were made civilized. So civilized behavior is what they're trying to promote in their policies and procedures. It's manners. Good manners will take you further than money. It's saying excuse me. It's saying thank you. It's having your inside voice and learning how to operate, sister, off of our feminine energy. So that was one of the comments that I did want to make. My last question before I take over WHID-FM and pass it on over to Brother West, because I'm having more fun than you all. What are your thoughts about artificial intelligence, especially with the field and the careers that you both are in? Is that something that could be used for good, or is it its sole purpose to be used for something negative?
So I'll say, because we use AI a lot in the field that I'm in, and you know, marrying that with the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, we're taught to always settle on the best part. And so whenever I'm going into a thing, especially all of these programs and structures designed by them, you know, I always try to extract the good, you know, from it. And so I definitely think that AI has a huge purpose, especially in the upcoming, for the upcoming generations. It's already being used for so much, whether education, healthcare, you know, even agriculture. It's such a wide range for AI to be utilized, but we have to, like I said, just settle on the best part of things and go into the use of these things with the idea and the mindset that whatever I use this for is going to be of good and it's going to be pleasing to God. And unfortunately, you know, we live in a world now where, you know, people have very evil purposes for things, but we can't get caught up in all that. You know, like I said, we just have to have our own intentions and be straightforward in that. Yes,
ma'am. Thank you. You have a comment about that, Brother Jessiah?
Nah, I don't got much to say on that.
She covered that down, huh?
Yeah, she covered that down. You want to use it, but just be mindful how you use it.
That's right. Yes, sir. Well, thank you all for being so patient with me. I'm going to pass it on over to Brother West, but I have to say that both of you all are an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Brother West?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, man. Thank you. And Sister Louita, I appreciate you for stepping in and answering some wonderful questions. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Islam, my brother.
Praise be to Allah. So I just want to congratulate you all on being newly married. Definitely a very beautiful couple. All praises due to Allah. So my first question, I actually want to take it down memory lane a little bit and ask you both how you met, and if you can explain your courtship process and what made you both want to pursue a marriage.
We met at Savior's Day. Let me also give some historical context because you saw that eye look she did at me real quick. she this is not her first time in New Jersey. Her sister was in New Jersey for a period of time, but this was during COVID, so we weren't active in the mosque because the mosques nobody was open during that time, so we didn't encounter. We had a encounterment, but not an introduction encounterment for historical context. But we were at Savior's Day, and during the workshop, there was a single social, and they was given a scenario. And the person in front of me, he gave a scenario. When I say he flew that plane into the ground. And I was like, all right, brother. So I built up the nerve in front, and this was in front of everybody. So I went off the scenario of what I would do with $50, because the scenario was to the brothers. What would you do with $50? I gave my answer, and sister gave her answer right after. So I was, just trying to soak in the response of our sister at the time. And my sister and her friend, they went to me and they was like, man, I think that would be a great couple. So from there, we DM'd each other wholesomely, brother. And then from there, we put in papers within 3 days? Within 3 days. And then,
And to his point, I want to point out just the value of courtship, or the value of single socials, the value of coordinating these, events that single people can come together and share their outlooks and opinions. It's kind of like an introductory, to other believers, kind of scope out the scenery. And so, like you said, we did meet at the single social. The question was asked, if you only had $50 of disposable income, but you had a sister that you were courting, how would you spend the money? And the brother mentioned, he said that she would just have to pay for her own meal. She would have to pay for her own meal, and he'll pay for himself. And there was a very inflammatory answer to a lot of the sisters in the audience. And so, Brother Jessiah, he shared his perspective. I went up, I gave my perspective, and I saw where he was looking at me after my response. And in my mind, it's like, did he have a problem with what I said? Because if he did, then he can take it up with another brother. I'm like, okay, well, I said what I said, and what I said is a direct teaching of the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. At the end of the day, sisters, don't let brothers play with you. I did not know this brother. And so that was my response. That was my response to when we first met. And then a few days after, it was Ramadan, we were moving into Ramadan, and he made a post about Ramadan. And like me, I was still kind of like high from, I'm a little offended, because was he offended about what I said? So, I was trying to clear the air. And so I sent a message, telling him, have a good Ramadan. And so that was the start of our interactions.
All praises due to Allah. That sounds like a wonderful story, and I'm happy that it went well from there. So my next question for you, Sister Khalila, if you can share how your childhood and parental influence inspired your career and decision to join the Nation of Islam. As your bio mentioned, you grew up with your parents already in the nation. So I'm sure, you already had that experience. But what made you decide to join for yourself?
So first and foremost, I have to give just so much credit to my parents. I thank Allah for them. I thank Allah for the structure that they gave us. I feel like a lot of people aren't appreciative of what their parents give them, and they kind of take it for granted. But, I'm very appreciative of the structure that they gave, not just me, but all of my siblings. And so I'll say at a young age, like I said, my parents, they embraced Islam, and just their marriage alone at a young age, I saw the value of what their marriage produced. We lived in a small house, maybe 2 acres of land, and it was just us, me and my siblings. We didn't have a lot of neighborhood people, whatever, homeschool. But seeing how just like my mom and dad interacted within their marriage, how they practice Islam and the confidence that they practice Islam with, it sparked something in me. And I remember just waking up most mornings, and my father, I would go to the restroom, get a cup of water, and my father and mother would always be in the study. They would always be in the study reading the Quran. They would always be in the study praying. They were always, in the early morning, just tuning in to one another and focusing on the word of God. And so even issues that they had, I saw how they brought Allah into the center of it to rectify those issues. Additionally, the trials that afflicted our family, seeing how they dealt with it and how they always put Allah at the forefront. My youngest sister, well, she was older at the time, but she passed away when she was 8, and that devastated our family. My mom had never lost anybody before, and it was just a shock to all of us because we're children, we want to cry and all these things. But I'll say I never saw my mom cry. I never saw my father cry. Instead, I saw them always in devout worship and praying and seeking healing from Allah. And so that always just kind of weighed on my mind, and growing older, just seeing how they practiced it, how they instilled it in us. Even when I was in the world, I always had those things to think back on. I always had those memories of her waking us up for prayer, of her, going over student enrollment with us, Muslim lesson number C1 with us, and making it into like a fun game, and flashcards and DVDs, and we just had so much fun. I had those things to think on when I was in the trenches of the world, and those moments made me much more appreciative of my upbringing. So when it was time for me to go back, there was no question about, whether or not I was going to join. I knew that I was going to join, and I was going to stay in it forever, no matter what Allah afflicted me with.
Yes, ma'am, most definitely. Thank you for giving your outlook on that, and I'm happy that you decided to reclaim your own for sure. And family, before we continue with our questions, I'm going to go ahead to our station ID. You are listening to WHID-FM. Thank you for tuning in and spending your valuable time, because without you, there is no WHID-FM. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to email us at WHID1919@gmail.com. Also, please subscribe to WHID-FM on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. And next week, inshallah, our guest will be Sister Tamara Muhammad, the midwife, and she'll be doing a special segment covering how to eat to live. So make sure you tune in right back here next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All praises due to Allah. And my next question for you, Brother Jessiah, I wanted to ask you if you have any general advice for the Black male in 2025 in regards to success, protecting mental health, and empowering the community.
Success, mental health, and empowering the community. I think a few parts to the main part with success is about discipline. I don't. Success is the happiness and the enjoyment of life that I think you can be proud of. It's not having the $1 million car. I think we get the facade or the image of seeing, oh man, a lot of times we make rappers or celebrities look like the image of success, but it's really, the peace of mind that Allah grants us, and the happiness, the luxuries, of course, within your means. But I think those things come with the discipline that you have over time and the goal in mind. I think what we've seen in mental health in 2020, during the pivot of COVID, we saw a highlight of increase of mass shootings. In 2020 to 2025, the U.S. have averaged over 600 mass shootings. In comparison to 2019 and 2018, there was the average amount of mass shootings that we saw were within a range of 400. And I'm giving this number to say, like, what is the mental health of the people of America? And what did COVID expose, or what was already there that put a spotlight to the mental condition of what people are going through. Because currently right now we see suicide is on the rise, particularly within Black youth, the Black men particularly. And I think it's such an interesting conversation about us to reflect on the stability of not just our home environment, but like what we're going through. And there are so many forces that we're dealing with that a lot of times we try to shrink and make it seem so micro of what our young people are experiencing. And because of social media, there's depression. Because of this glorification of material and things, a lot of us are really sad on the inside. And we're burdened by our at-home experiences. I've been in many homes with our young people, and the instability of not having father, not having mother, being on Section 8, and these, our young people are smoked out on these drugs, and these stuff is real. That the mental health thing, I think, is a very important conversation to really, and I think it connects to the empowerment piece, that we have to really have more conversation and be more uplifting to create, not just say no to, there has to be in education, there's a thing called guided discovery, and we have to really give practices that we install in our young people that makes it more understanding. You play football, you play basketball, these things bring out discipline. And when our young people are not doing anything, then they lack the discipline to overcome some of the trials that they face. So I definitely think that when we see this mental health thing that's arising within our young people, it's not so vague that I think we should just really look away or like sometimes put an elbow to. I think it just brings out more conversation that we should really, our young people really need stability at home. I think that's really the driving force. And, the empowerment piece comes with, the image, the role models that we put in front of them. But all praise is due to Allah.
All praise is due to Allah indeed. Thank you for that wonderful answer. And family, small update. Next week, we will have Brother Student Minister Halim Muhammad from Muhammad Mosque number 32 in Phoenix, Arizona. And that'll be May 25th, 2025. So stay tuned for that wonderful episode next week, right here on WHID-FM. And my next question for you all. So circulating back to your marriage, I wanted to ask you, as a newly married couple, how do you believe the teachings have or will help your marriage? And did this past Ramadan that we just experienced reveal any new ways that you both can support one another?
All praise is due to Allah. Yes, I would say the most beautiful thing to me that makes me always increase in my love for my wife is when we're up at 5 o'clock in the morning and we're making prayer. This to me is just is I'm not saying this to sound like somebody holier than thou, any of that. It's just me internally. It just feels so good to see her in that light and to be blessed with to have someone of the same faith. And I've always, to me, it's always a beautiful thing to wake up and make prayer with your wife. That I can't beat that happiness. And I think that's the big effect of what this Islam has had on me, is that it has brought forth a mate within the understanding and through the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, honorable minister of Farrakhan. But nothing beats, having the faith, and I'm blessed. All praise due to Allah.
Yes, sir. And sis, did you have anything to add?
Just one thing. We're taught that love is duty, and that duty is not only to your spouse, but it's also to oneself, in your personal growth and development. And just being able to say that I'm in a process that's going to better grow me to be of more service to my husband and to Allah. And he's also in the process says for the same thing, and we can come together and marry what we both are learning to ultimately create a union that is pleasing to Allah, that's growing me towards Allah and growing him towards Allah. It's the most beautiful thing to me. I have in my MGT class, he has his FOY class, and seeing his enthusiasm of going to class and submitting to a process that's just turning him into a different person every single day. I'm loving the growth and development that he's had since we've gotten married. And I think that constant growth and development, the productivity of it, it just increases my love every single day. It's like, wow, my husband is going to a FOY class. Like, you got to get this teaching. so, I think that's just so beautiful to me. So that's, yes, sir.
Most certainly. That's wonderful. And my next question for you all, before we go to our announcements and closing comments, I want to ask you both, what has Islam done for you?
It's saved my life, brother.
Yes, sir.
I just think that, having the it saved my life. It's given me a future. There's an African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child, and I've been blessed to be a child in a village that I know so many people in the city, and I'm blessed to have the opportunities to develop. And at the same time, they know me as a Muslim. Our mayor, Rajay Baraka, was my principal. And I remember one event with Sister Soldier. He introduced me to her as a FOI. And I'm just so thankful of all of those that came before me, that as a Muslim in a city where other Islam, there's prevalence of other Islam in the city. Newark is a Muslim city. And to be in a city like this, to be under the teachings of so many, like Islam is, just to give you some small context, in Newark public schools, our school district, pork is forbidden. They can't sell pork. They can't serve pork in the school systems. And that's because of the early 1990s, there was Muslims on the school board that outlawed pork to this day. So I'm just saying all that to say that, when you have a mayor and he's very familiar with the nation, and at the same time too, I've been blessed to reap the benefit, the rewards of those that came before me, and at the same time be given the opportunity. So I really am, and I'm so grateful to Allah God and the opportunity. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And Sister Khalila?
Like he said, Islam saved my life. That's so easy to say, but the context of it is just so much deeper than that. I'll say it's giving me an identity outside of this world. And so it's a lot easier now for me to disconnect from the chaos and to stay grounded and, keep the faith in Allah, because I never created an identity in the world, and even when I was in the process of being in the world, I always knew that I had a home with Allah, and it simply took, me just going back to him. It gave me a community. There's no other way but to say just simply that, my entire family, they're in the Nation of Islam, seeing their growth and development and being able to just, come together with my family and we all be on the same page about everything. That's so beautiful to me. And also just making me a light, for people. Like I said, I always thought like, oh, this is just normal for me. This is the things that I've been taught. But hearing how other people talk about the impact that I've had on their life, I'm like, huh? What? But Allah has set us apart from others, and there's nothing that I can say to really show my gratitude for Allah choosing me to be the one, to practice and to be a part of this nation. So there's no words. I can't even put it into words.
All praise is due to Allah. That is absolutely beautiful. And before we close out, we actually did have a question in the chat for you all. So the question is, I'm curious, what's next for this beautiful family? Any goals or projects that you all are working on? Must be something important.
I think right now we're in a season where we're continuing to learn one another, creating projects that's going to make our life a little easier in the future, a little bit more flexible, having more time for one another, because, work-life balance, all those things. Yeah, anything you wanted to add?
No, I think the goals or projects is more like, right now we're renting. The goal is definitely to get a home for each other, and of course for her it's to finish her academic. She has like what you got to the end of this year for your for her bachelor's, and I think she may pursue her master's after this as well. So I think her case is finishing. Her success is my success. So I'm saying that as a goal, that when she finished college, that would be amazing. The home thing, and we did talk about some ventures to possibly do on the financial level to bring some added, build wealth. Clear debt too. That's a project right there.
Okay. And then this is just me. I'm just kind of curious. Do you all see yourself bringing Sister Khalila Jr. or Brother Jessiah Jr. pretty soon? Is that something that's possible?
Whoa, brother, whoa.
Like, see that you asked the question that we have to leave to the guy. That's a lot is messed over, brother.
Yes, sir. Well, praise be to Allah. We definitely enjoyed you all and the wonderful answers that you gave. And praise be to Allah, family. With that, we're going to go to our announcements. So, family, you can always go to NOI.org and make sure that if you would like to join the Nation of Islam, you can go to Go Study or join NOI.org. And you can join the Nation of Islam by either going to the website or calling the number 773-324-6000. Once again, that's 773-324-6000. All praises due to Allah. And as always, if you want to hear those life-giving, life-saving teachings 24/7, 7 days a week, 365, you can go to finalcallradio.com, or you can download for the Final Call Radio app and click the Listen Live button, where you will hear life-giving teachings from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and also hear some of his musical pieces that he's done. And if you tune in live each Sunday, you will hear the Sunday lecture broadcasting straight from Muhammad Mosque number 2 in Chicago. Next, most important, I would say, if not the most important, we have the Final Call newspaper. So you can either get a digital subscription or you can get a crispy copy out there from your brothers out on the streets, and they'll be selling these papers for $2. And here you will get the unadulterated truth. As one of our brothers says, it's the blackest, the boldest, the baddest newspaper on planet Earth right now. So make sure that you definitely get you a wonderful copy of the Final Call newspaper each week, either digitally or a fresh copy. And yes, definitely, our brother Donald Muhammad, who is our host of the show, has a wonderful book out there for children, or if you're just a child at heart, and it's called I Never Knew I Am All That. This book will definitely empower your youth, your grandchildren, your children, to see themselves as the wonderful gods and original makers, owners, and creams of the planet Earth that they definitely are. So I encourage you to go to Amazon, type in I Never Knew I Am All That, and please support our dear brother and his wonderful endeavors. Praise be to Allah. We have more copies of the book. And then, yes, every Sunday, if you are in the Richmond, Virginia area, you can go to Muhammad Mosque number 24, where you will hear the reality of God delivered by our dear brother, student minister, Tracy Muhammad, who is the local representative of the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I believe right now they are meeting at the Hobson Lodge, and that is every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 801 Prince Hall Drive, Richmond, Virginia. So praise be to Allah. Make sure that you hear those life-giving words. And if you're down here in the Baltimore area, you can join us at Muhammad Mosque number 6 for the renewing of your mind. Who doesn't want that? And once again, it's Sunday, 11 a.m. on 2801 North Dukeland Street, Baltimore, Maryland. So praise be to Allah. Please come down and have your mind renewed. Praise be to Allah. And I believe that will conclude our announcements. Once again, we want to thank Sister Louida for coming in and answering some wonderful questions. We want to thank Sister Jessiah. Brother Jessiah, Sister Khalila, and definitely for giving those wonderful answers. And thank you, family, for tuning in, because once again, without you, there is no WHID-FM. And with that, we'll be going to our Muhammad moment.
I'm refreshing. It's good to see a black man that ain't gonna bow down or punk out. You know, it really is good to know that that kind of man exists. I know that I'm a man of weaknesses, but my weaknesses are hidden in the strength of God. All of us have frailties, but God is strength. And if the Lord is my shepherd, then I'm all right. You can't calculate how to defeat me. You don't have brains enough. Listen. No. Now you can beat me. That's easy to do. But yeah, you're right, son. It's not easy, is it? No, they can't do that. My son was back here correcting me and said, no, they can't do that. But I'll explain what I meant. If I am separated from God, I'm nothing. I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say, if Allah leaves me for a fraction of a second, you would see a walking fool. I am not wise. I am covered by the wisdom of God. I am not strong. My strength is in God. You understand?
Yes, sir.
I can't do anything of myself, but whatever he commands, he gives me the ability to carry out his command. I am nothing. He is everything. And by my submitting to him, he makes me appear to be what he is. Do you understand? I'm not holy, but people look upon me as that. Some even call me holy apostle. I don't ask you to give me no names like that, because I know better. And I'm not going to let you soup me up and let me get carried away and think more of myself than I should. But people call me this. Yeah. People see me in a way that I'm shocked sometimes, the way they see me. But it's not me you see. It's really him coming through me that you see. Don't ever make the mistake and think it's me. No. Man, when you let God have his way in your life, brother, you become a very extraordinary individual. And I'm saying that every one of us, male and female, young and old, have the capacity to become extraordinary human beings, but you got to let God have his way in your life.
All praise is due to Allah. And family, if you want to listen to that lecture in full or get a copy for yourself, it is called Only God Can Make Man, and that was on November 20th, 1991. for those who would like to know. And with that, we will conclude in prayer. Attention prayer. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayri maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, family.
My album. It's an album that speaks from the pain of the heart of a little boy wanting to see his people free.
Yeah, this is Big Snoop Dogg coming at you live and direct.
This is a project that attracted some of the most brilliant, award-winning musicians and artists.
Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Whoa, let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
Brother, 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 what will you discover if we come together and do it like we never? I'm just sick and tired. I'm fit to light the fire. Now put this on the wire. The devil is a liar.